What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Brian Turner Invests, the channel where we talk about all things investments from stocks to crypto and everything in between. Now, today we have seen a very red day all across the boards, and it's pretty terrifying for a lot of people. We've seen a $10,000 drop in Bitcoin's price from 56,000 down to 46,000, and all in between. It's been going up and down all over the place. Right now, it's somewhere around 47,000. That's freaking people out. We've also seen a drop across all the broad markets. Stocks, gold, oil, gas, everything has gone through a bit of a dip. This is terrifying for a lot of people. A lot of people are really scared, and today in this video, I want to address what's going on, what my opinion is, whether I think this is it, we're gonna go down, and what my personal strategy is. So stick around, this is gonna be fantastic. As always, remember that none of this is financial or investment advice. This is just my opinion, and I'm telling you what I feel about the current situations that are going on. So first, let's talk about the stock market. So we saw a huge drop across all of the market, but especially tech stocks. And I would say that the reason we saw this is probably for two reasons. One, we had Jay Powell, the Fed, talk in front of, I believe it was the House or the Senate or something like that. But basically what he was doing is kind of giving an update on the interest rates. So whether or not they were going to move up or down. And if you're not really familiar with interest rates, basically it's like, when they drop the rates, that basically means that banks are allowed to borrow money from the Fed for cheaper, which means that they're going to borrow more because they have to pay back less interest. When those interest rates go up, the banks are going to borrow less because the interest rates are higher. They're going to have to pay back more. So when banks borrow heavily, it then kind of has a ripple effect across the entire market. And that also basically banks, if the interest rate for the Fed is low, they're going to lower their interest rates for normal people like you and me who are getting loans from the bank, and vice versa. When it goes up, they're going to raise those rates up on us. So basically, when people have to pay more, they're less likely to borrow and then less likely to spend, borrowed money on stuff. And stuff is what moves the markets up and down. So basically, I am assuming that we saw a large sell-off in front run in preparation for this talk. Basically, a lot of people will sell off their assets, basically not sure if it's going to be an up or down movement with those interest rates. And when you see these movements, if it drops heavily, a lot of people will have stop losses in place, which basically means that, say Tesla's at $700, they have a stop loss in place at $650. That means that if Tesla's stock price drops to $650, it automatically sells for them. So we'll see a lot of these trailing stop losses as stock prices go up, and all it takes is for a quick, sharp move downwards, and the stock moves down, then it triggers more stop losses, and then it moves down, and that triggers more stop losses. It's basically a cascading effect of panic. But it's actually a pretty good bullish thing, because really it's not people deciding actively to sell. It's these pre-programmed stop losses being basically hunted, basically. The other thing with the stock market is that we've been in this over-exuberance phase where we've just been seeing things go up and up and up and up, endlessly up and up. And people are very excited, but now people are also, while they're still greedy and excited, they're also wary and scared. Everyone's been asking, when's the stock market crash coming? When are we going to see the end of this? When is the top? So when we see these moves down, people do get scared. They think, oh no, this is it. This is 2008 all over again. This is 2000 all over again. And a lot of people will sell off their stocks either for a profit to secure some of their profits, or at a loss, unfortunately, because they bought in at what they think is the peak, and they want to eliminate or limit the amount of losses that are going to come after that. What I would have to say is I really think that we're just going to see a huge rebound. I think for maybe a week or so, we're going to see this either downwards or choppy movement, and it's going to be scary, but a lot of people are buying up right now. And the Fed did announce that the interest rates are not going to be moving up. So like while we saw those sells coming in before we knew what the news was going to be, now we do know what the news is going to be. And I think by the end of this week, we're going to see some green, and next week we're going to be right back in the green. This is not to say that I don't think that you should be wary that there is going to be a top and eventually a huge crash/correction, but right now I just don't think that is the case. I have more to talk about at the end of this video about that, but let's move on to Bitcoin. Now with Bitcoin, it is a little easier to point out exactly what has been going on. So if you've been following for the last couple of weeks, we have been moving at a crazy, crazy pace. I mean, seriously, last week we were in the 40s. If at the beginning of last month, for example, at the beginning of January, or even at the end of January, if you were to tell me that we'd be above 40,000 by the end of February, I would have been like, amazing. That's a crazy movement. But because we moved so fast in so little weeks, people are now getting really, really complacent with the price. And now you see people all over the forum saying, here's the crash. I told you guys. I told you we're going to all lose your money. People are, telling people, I don't know if this is true, but a lot of people are saying like a lot of people are, having suicidal depression and all this kind of stuff. And really, we've only been over $50,000 for less than a week now. I watched it go over 50,000 just a few days ago, and us getting to 56,000 has only been for a moment. And people who bought that high really should be prepared to see a correction, because it's not like we built up to 56,000 over the course of multiple weeks. We built that in a few days. So of course, there's not as much support as previous movements that did take a little bit more time. So it's easier to move down on those prices that we so exuberantly and quickly moved up on if we weren't taking little steps and stairs where we were building support on the way. Now, there's a few different things to point out. My brain is going like 100 miles a minute. There's a few different things to point out as to why this crash happened. So the first one is F2 Pool selling off their coins. So yesterday we saw F2 Pool, which is one of the largest Bitcoin miners. They basically mine Bitcoin, they hoard them. They don't sell them the day that they mine them. They hoard them, and then eventually they sell them all at once. F2 Pool sold over 3,000 Bitcoin yesterday, and then they sold 1,000, I think it was like 1,100 today. So they're selling large amounts of Bitcoin. This coincides with something else called short stop loss hunting, which is basically what I was saying with the stocks there. Basically, people will put in stop losses for the price of Bitcoin. So as it goes to 56,000, right, they put in a stop loss at 52, meaning if Bitcoin drops to 52, it automatically will sell their Bitcoin at 52. And that just kind of secures their profits, so that if it drops to 48, they can buy back in, and they were able to make $4,000 on it, have $4,000 more Bitcoin. Because of the way that the exchanges work, you can actually see a lot of these orders, and you can see how much is available to hunt, essentially. So if you're a big whale, or if you're a big mining pool, you have a lot of Bitcoin to dump, you can say, wow, there are a lot of people with stop losses that are ready to be liquidated. Also, people who are trading on derivatives markets, basically longing or shorting Bitcoin, who are basically trading on margin, meaning that they're trading with money that's not theirs, they can be liquidated if the price of Bitcoin drops too heavily. So if there's a lot of these people on the line, big whales will just dump Bitcoin on the market. They'll open short positions so that they can make money as Bitcoin drops. And at the same time, they'll liquidate people who are in these positions, which will then drive the price further down. This makes them money because they have short positions open. Then they can close those short positions. They can buy back their Bitcoin for less price and basically end up with more Bitcoin. So in this short run, this is very scary. You see a huge 30%, 40% drop in a single day. It's terrifying. But at the same time, this is kind of par for the course. If you've been here for basically the price movements of Bitcoin throughout the last couple of bull runs, in 2017, we had, I think it was 8 different corrections that were over 30%. So we're literally on correction 2 of this bull market of 30%. So we could see another 4 or 5 of these. And basically, if you don't think that this is the absolute top of Bitcoin, if you don't think that this is the end of the bull market, then you just have to sit tight, stay on the roller coaster, because there's ups and downs, but it's just normal. It just feels really bad because now that we're at a higher price, 30% means $10,000 instead of when you're at, $20,000, 30% is only like $5,000 or $6,000. So it's harder to see, harder to weather, especially if you were previously just buying Bitcoin at the very top here at $55,000, $56,000. So a few other things to mention about this. MicroStrategy and Tesla purchased huge amounts of Bitcoin. We also know lots of other, from the outflows on exchanges, we know that a lot of people, a lot of whales have been buying a lot of Bitcoin and moving them off the exchanges. So this is another reason that it's so easily done that Bitcoin can drop so quickly, is because a lot of the Bitcoin that have been purchased up in the last, say, month or so have been moved off exchanges, which basically means that there's less liquidity on the exchanges. There's less Bitcoin on the exchanges, which means that the order books are thinner, which basically means that it takes less money, less buying or selling pressure to make price moves. Because again, there's much less Bitcoin. MicroStrategy bought 1.5 billion originally, but then recently just raised over $1 billion to buy more. We don't know if they've executed those purchases yet, but we also know that Tesla has purchased over $1.5 billion of Bitcoin last month. So there's a lot less Bitcoin on exchanges. And again, the same amount of money that wouldn't have moved it as much maybe a few months ago is now able to move it a lot more now. And that just kind of ties into what I was just saying with basically whales and the F2 pool mining company basically trying to drop the price so they can hunt these stop losses and liquidate people who are on long positions. Okay, so all that to say, am I worried? Absolutely not. Sure, it doesn't feel good seeing your whole portfolio go red, especially if you're also in tech stocks. So literally your whole portfolio is going red. But I absolutely see no problem with this. Do I think that this is the overall market crash that everyone's been expecting across all broad markets and that we're going to see a 2008 style recession? No, not yet. I do think that we will eventually see something really bad like that. But I do think what's happening right now is we're basically just capping the over exuberant, greedy greed. But I don't think that we're going to just stop all of that. I think basically we're just going to take it down a level, take it from like, holy crap, rockets, moons, and clowns down a bit. And then as it starts to recover, as it starts to gain support at those previous support lines, we're going to see a lot of people get comfortable again, get excited again. We're going to see that very exuberant kind of, I guess, greediness come back, and people will be buying in saying, oh, this is discounted. This is a good price to get in. We were already up there and we're finding support down here. What does that mean? We're in a bull market. It's only going to go back up there. So anything below where it was is just a discount and a guaranteed profit. I think that's exactly what we are going to end up seeing with people's sentiments. And I do think that all the markets are going to recover quite well. With Bitcoin, I would say that I do think it's going to take possibly a little bit longer than these previous corrections back up have been. So I do think basically what I'm saying is I don't think Bitcoin's going to be back at $56,000 in 2 days. I think it would be most healthy for Bitcoin to go sideways for a couple of weeks and maybe even down further. We might even see Bitcoin test $42,000 because that's a previous support line. We might even see 40,000 as another support line, and we may even see it dip into the 30s, the high 30s. You have to be prepared for this because it is going to be scary. But honestly, that would be good because it would let all of our indicators kind of catch up, because the price has run so far away from indicators that we were getting into a very overbought position that wasn't healthy. And we're basically going to let like the 21 moving average, basically all the moving averages move back up, the MACD, everything. We're going to see it get back into a healthier range, which basically means that the bull run can move farther and can move longer. Because if we were going to continue moving up $3,000 every couple of days, $4,000 or $5,000 every couple of days, I don't know how much more sustainable it could have been. Whereas now, I think with this correction, if it lasts for another week or so, we could actually see a more proper bull run that runs into June, July, August, September, something like that. So I'm not scared about Bitcoin at all. I think it's a good buying position. A lot of my friends have bought Bitcoin recently. I've bought some more stocks recently. So as far as stock market goes, I kind of have the same sentiment as I just said. I do think this is going to knock some of that greed and exuberance down, but I do not think this is over. I do think within a couple of weeks, we're going to be right back to where we were and past it. So yeah. If you're along for the ride, you knew that this is a possibility. You have to always be ready to lose money. But one thing I do want to mention before I end this video, one thing I want to mention and just like end on is when it comes to markets and investments, time in the market is always better than timing the market. If you look at the stock market, it has literally never been lower than it has in the past. Basically, it's always gone higher, even when you've gone through huge corrections, like for example, the 2008 recession, or even the COVID March drop crash. At any point, if you would have bought even at the highest, or if you had bought at the bottom of the drops, no matter where you bought, at this point now, we're higher than those points. So even if you just bought you know, Bitcoin at 56K, or if you bought stocks right before this previous drop, or even right before COVID, if you just stuck on and didn't sell, then you would have eventually gotten back to profits. And if you would have averaged down, you would have been in even a better position. So it's important, I think, as long as you can hold on. In my opinion, I don't sell just because I get scared. I don't sell because I'm now in the red. I think it's okay. In a year from now, it's going to be all green. Sure, I could have timed it better. I could have gotten a better buy, but really, it doesn't matter what happens, whether this is just a short-term correction or maybe I'm completely wrong and this is absolutely a recession that's going to last for multiple years and we're going to go into a bear market. Even if I'm completely wrong, it absolutely, as long as the assets that I'm holding and Bitcoin and all the things that I have money in don't go bankrupt or don't go to zero, which I don't believe they are going to because I wouldn't be in them otherwise, they are going to outperform where they have been in the past eventually. All I have to do is hold, and you never realize a loss until you sell. So that is my sage advice for this end of the video. Remember, of course, nothing is investment advice, but I did want to get on here and just kind of give my opinion of what's going on and let you know that I am not scared. This is not a scary situation. It's par for the course. We see corrections. It's nothing to worry about if you're in it for the long run. All right, I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the very next one.